Imagine, for a moment, the world as a vast and infinite map, an intricate tapestry of energies, realms, and unspoken pathways, stretching out before us, uncharted yet full of meaning. What if, buried within the fold of this map, there existed a blueprint, a hidden guide to the vast territories of the human psyche, to the very consciousness that weave the fabric of our lives and experience? This map, once known, has slipped from our collective memory, erased from history like the ancient footprints of a long-forgotten civilization. And yet, there are whispers of its existence, scattered across the pages of sacred texts, buried in the annals of mythology, encoded in the rhythms of our dreams. One such place where this map was once drawn is within the Bible, that sacred tome revered by billions, yet for all its wisdom, somehow shrouded in layers of translation, interpretation, and omission. The ancient map of consciousness was there, or so some claimed, but it was erased systematically, methodically, and perhaps even intentionally, to keep the minds of those who read its words trapped in a world of linear thinking, rather than liberated to the cosmic expanse of multidimensional awareness. What does it mean to speak of consciousness in this way? To speak of a map as though it were a territory, as though the mind, the very heart of who we are, were a land to be charted, a place to explore with all the wonder and all one might approach a hidden kingdom? To understand this map is to understand the true nature of our being, not just as individuals, but as part of a greater, boundless unity that stretches beyond the temporal, beyond the earthly, into the realms of eternity. It is to perceive the truth that we are not merely our thoughts, our actions, or our circumstances, but something far more expansive, far more profound. The erasure of this map from the Bible has implications far beyond the pages of a religious text. It speaks to the very nature of knowledge, of perception, and of how humanity has been shaped both by external forces and by the internal structures of our consciousness. What if these forces for centuries have worked to keep us tethered to a limited understanding of our potential, constraining us to the notion that the world is a fixed, predictable place, and that we are only what we see in the mirror? What if the true potential of the human mind, the full spectrum of consciousness, remains locked in the shadows, waiting for us to reclaim it? There are countless stories of hidden wisdom, of secret teachings passed down through generations, sometimes in plain sight, sometimes cloaked in allegory and mystery. These stories, those of lost cities, secret societies, and spiritual traditions, hint at a deeper reality, a more expansive map, drawn long before the world became what we know today. The idea that consciousness is a map is not a new one. It has been passed down through time, encrypted in various forms. In the tarot, in sacred geometry, in the mystical teachings of the ancient Sufis, the Kabbalists, and the yogis. But for many, these teachings have remained arcane, almost inaccessible, hidden behind layers of misunderstanding, dogma, and fear. The erasure of this map is not merely an academic or theological concern. It reaches into the very heart of human existence. If the map of consciousness were visible, if we could perceive it clearly, might we see our lives, our struggles, and our joys as part of a greater, more cosmic design? Could we break free from the chains of conditioned thought that tell us who we are, how we must behave, and what we must desire? Could we step out of the shadows of limited perception and enter into a realm of infinite possibility, where the boundaries between the self and the universe blur, and where we, as individuals, are revealed to be both the creators and the creation of the vast, boundless cosmos? What if the key to unlocking this map lies not in distant temples or forgotten scriptures, but within us? What if the map was never truly erased, but rather concealed not by external forces, but by the limits of our own awareness? The human mind, with all its complexity, seems a natural place for such a map to be hidden. After all, consciousness itself is a paradox, a force both tangible and intangible, personal yet universal, fleeting yet eternal. The very fact that we can even entertain the idea of a map of consciousness speaks to the deep yearning within each of us to understand the underlying truths of our existence, to know the divine order that governs not only the stars in the sky, but also the thoughts that arise within our minds. This ancient map of consciousness, though erased in the Bible, still lives on in the ether, accessible only to those willing to look beyond the veils of superficial understanding. As we embark on this exploration, we will not merely trace the lost lines of an ancient design. We will also delve deep into the very nature of consciousness itself, uncovering the profound implications it holds for our lives, our societies, and our place in the universe. To uncover this map is to step into a new paradigm of understanding, where the very boundaries of what we know and what we can know are stretched to their fullest potential. As we venture further into the heart of this exploration, we must first ask ourselves, what are the foundational ideas that form the essence of the ancient map of consciousness? The answer does not lie in a single location, nor in a straightforward text, but in the very nature of human perception itself, in the undulating currents of thought, belief, and awareness that flow beneath the surface of what we call reality. One of the most fundamental themes of this map, and perhaps the most profound, is the notion of the nonlinear nature of consciousness. We are conditioned by the world we inhabit to think in straight lines. Time moves forward, cause leads to effect, and our thoughts seem to follow one another in a neat procession, each step leading predictably to the next. But the map of consciousness, as it was once known, suggests something far more complex, something that twists and turns, loops back on itself, and emerges in forms that defy logical structure. Consciousness, in this framework, is not a simple straight line moving in one direction, but a vast and multidimensional web. Every thought, feeling, and experience is part of an interwoven network, where past, present, and future collapse into one fluid, interconnected whole. Consider, for example, the mythological idea of eternal return, the cyclical nature of time that permeates many ancient traditions. In this view, events are not linear, but instead they spiral, repeating themselves in ever-expanding cycles. The ancient map of consciousness contains an echo of this idea, for it teaches that our consciousness is not confined to a single moment in time, but spans across ages and dimensions, stretching beyond the boundaries of this physical world. We are not just who we are in this moment, but also who we have been and who we are yet to become. The boundaries between the self and the universe, between the individual and the collective, are fluid and porous. In this sense, the map of consciousness is a living organism, constantly shifting and expanding, containing within it all the potential creation itself. Connected to this theme is the idea of hidden knowledge, that there are truths about the universe, about the self, and about the nature of existence that are veiled from our everyday perception. These truths are not necessarily secret in a conspiratorial sense, but are concealed in plain sight, woven into the fabric of existence itself. The Bible, in its most ancient and pure form, was not merely a religious text, but a repository of symbolic knowledge that spoke to the deepest layers of human consciousness. Yet over time, much of this knowledge was obscured, not just by human intervention, but by the very limits of our own awareness. This hidden knowledge is not a matter of discovering new facts, but of reawakening the truths that are already within us. The ancient map of consciousness points to the idea that our understanding of reality is not something that we must acquire from external sources, but something that we must uncover from within. It is as though we are standing in the midst of a dense forest, with a map of our own soul written in the stars above us, and yet we are unable to see it because our eyes are clouded by distractions, by false beliefs, and by the limitations of our conditioned mind. A significant component of this hidden knowledge, and a crucial part of the map, is the concept of the sacred geometry of existence. In many ancient cultures, there was a belief that the universe is organized according to a specific set of principles and patterns, mathematical, geometric, and vibrational. The structure of the universe, from the smallest particles to the grandest galaxies, mirrors the same fundamental patterns that govern the workings of the human mind. The sacred geometry, often represented in symbols like the flower of life or the golden ratio, is a hidden architecture of reality itself, a pattern that connects everything in the cosmos, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. The ancient map of consciousness, therefore, is not just a mental or spiritual guide, but a reflection of the very fabric of the universe. It teaches that by understanding these underlying patterns, we can begin to comprehend the deeper layers of our own consciousness and the world around us. Another essential theme of the map is the nature of duality and unity. The ancient teachings, if one looks closely, repeatedly point to the tension between opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine, order and chaos, life and death, as central to the human experience. This duality is not something to be rejected or overcome, but something to be understood and integrated. The map reveals that true wisdom arises not from avoiding one side of the spectrum, but from recognizing the unity that underlies them. For every light, there is a shadow. For every life, there is a death. For every creation, there is a destruction. These apparent opposites are but different faces of the same underlying force. What some may call the divine, others may call the source, and still others might refer to as a cosmic consciousness. At the deepest level, the ancient map of consciousness offers a vision of wholeness, a state where the fragmented parts of the self are rejoined in harmony with the universe. It suggests that the purpose of our journey through life is not merely to accumulate knowledge, wealth, or power, but to return to a state of unity with all that is. This is not a passive process, but an active one, where we must consciously align ourselves with the deeper rhythms of life, shedding the layers of illusion that obscure our true nature. The map also introduces the idea of the sacred self, the notion that every individual is a unique expression of the divine, imbued with infinite potential. However, this potential can only be realized by transcending the limiting beliefs and conditioning that keep us from seeing who we truly are. The path to enlightenment, as depicted in the ancient map, is one of personal transformation, of shedding the false self, and embracing the eternal, boundless essence that resides within. This map is not a static chart, but a living, breathing force that evolves as we evolve. It is both a guide and a mirror, reflecting back to us not only who we are, but who we are becoming. The more we explore its depths, the more it reveals. Yet it is also a map that cannot be fully understood in a single lifetime or even in a single generation. Its layers unfold across time, and its wisdom can only be grasped in moments of deep reflection, insight, and surrender to the greater mysteries of existence. To truly begin to unravel the ancient map of consciousness, we must enter the world of symbolic narratives, those stories, myths, and allegories that have been passed down to the ages, often veiled in layers of metaphor, yet brimming with insights into the nature of existence. These tales are not mere fables. They are living texts that encode profound truths about the human experience, revealing to us the hidden structure of consciousness itself. Take, for instance, the story of the Garden of Eden. In its most superficial reading, it is a tale of innocence lost, of human disobedience, and the expulsion from paradise. But if we delve deeper, we begin to see it as a map of human consciousness in its primal, undivided state. The garden is not merely a physical place, but a representation of the original unity with the divine. It speaks to a time before the separation between the self and the world, a time when consciousness was pure, unfragmented, and whole. The fall from grace, then, is not simply a moral tale, but a symbolic expression of the split within human consciousness, of the moment when we lost touch with the sacred unity that underlies all things. The tree of knowledge in this story is particularly telling. It represents the duality of consciousness, the knowledge of good and evil, of right and wrong, of separation and unity. The fruit that Adam and Eve consume is not just a literal apple, but a symbol of the awakening of consciousness itself, the moment when humanity became aware of its own existence as separate from the divine. This awareness, while seemingly a gift, also brings with it burden, the knowledge of duality, of the division between the self and the world. In this sense, the Garden of Eden is not a literal location, but a symbolic representation of the mind before and after the fall, a map of the stages of consciousness that we all undergo as we navigate the journey of life. Another powerful narrative that illuminates the map of consciousness is the story of a hero's journey, a template that can be found in myths across cultures. From the ancient epics of Gilgamesh and the Odyssey, to modern tales like The Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, this journey is a universal motif that mirrors the internal, spiritual quest for self-realization. The hero begins in the ordinary world, unaware of the deeper truths of existence, and is called to adventure by some form of divine intervention or crisis. The journey is fraught with trials and challenges, encounters with mentors, enemies, and the inner demons of fear, doubt, and temptation. Ultimately, the hero must face the greatest challenge of all, the confrontation with the self, the realization of the unity between the self and the divine, and the integration of the shadow self. In this context, the hero's journey becomes a map of the path to self-actualization. Each stage of the journey corresponds to a level of awakening in the mind and spirit. The call to adventure represents the awakening of consciousness to a higher reality. The crossing of thresholds symbolizes the initiation into deeper knowledge, and the final confrontation represents the integration duality, the recognition that the self is not separate from the world, but an integral part of it. This archetype of the hero is the map itself, a journey that each of us must undertake in our own lives, whether consciously or unconsciously, as we seek to reclaim our connection to the divine and to the hidden depths of our being. Consider also the symbolic tale of the phoenix, that mythical bird which burns itself to ashes only to rise again from the fire, renewed and reborn. The phoenix represents the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, echoing the theme of eternal return that lies at the heart of the ancient map of consciousness. In this symbol, we see the process of transformation, of letting go of the old self, of shedding the outdated beliefs and structures that no longer serve us, and emerging from the flames of purification into a higher state of awareness. The phoenix is not just a symbol of resurrection, but transcendence, of the ability to move through the cycles of life and death, not as victims of fate, but as conscious creators of our own evolution. This idea of transformation through fire is also seen in the tale of the alchemist, who through a series of trials and initiations seeks the philosopher's stone, the ultimate symbol of spiritual enlightenment and the transmutation of the base self into the divine. The alchemist's journey is a symbolic representation of the inner work that each of us must undergo to transmute the lead of our unconscious, fragmented selves into gold of divine consciousness. The process is not easy. It requires facing the shadows of the psyche, confronting the parts of ourselves that we would rather avoid. But it is through this process of inner alchemy that we come to realize the deeper truths encoded in the ancient map of consciousness, the knowledge that we are not merely separate beings, but part of a unified whole, connected to the divine source from which all things flow. These stories, the Garden of Eden, the hero's journey, the phoenix, the alchemist, are more than just allegories. They are reflections of the deepest layers of consciousness, mirrors held up to our own psyche, showing us the stages of our evolution, the challenges we face, and the potential for transformation. They reveal the map of consciousness, not in a linear or rational sense, but in a symbolic, archetypal form, an intricate web of interconnected symbols, each one a key that unlocks a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are meant to become. At the heart of these symbols lies a fundamental truth. Consciousness is not static. It is not a fixed point, but a dynamic, ever-evolving force. The map of consciousness is not a static chart to be deciphered once and for all, but a living, breathing entity that reveals itself only to those who are ready to perceive it. Just as a hero must embark on their journey to unlock their potential, so too must we engage in our own inner work to awaken the deeper truths that lie within us. Having explored the deeper, symbolic narratives that give form to the ancient map of consciousness, we now stand at the precipice, ready to translate these profound insights into the tangible realm of daily life. For while the map itself may be cosmic, multidimensional, and rich with allegory, the real value lies in the ability to guide us through the labyrinth of our everyday existence. How can these ancient symbols and hidden truths influence how we live, how we think, how we perceive ourselves and our world? The first and most immediate realization that arises from understanding the map of consciousness is the recognition that everything is interconnected. We live in a world where separation and division are taken for granted. We see ourselves as isolated beings, distinct from one another and from the world around us. But the ancient map teaches us that this separation is an illusion, a temporary condition of the mind. Beneath the surface, all things are linked together by an invisible thread, an underlying unity that binds us to the cosmos. This realization is not just a philosophical idea, but a practical tool for living more harmoniously with the world. Imagine, for a moment, how this perspective can shift your relationships. How many of our conflicts, misunderstandings, and miscommunications arise from the belief that others are separate from us, that their actions, thoughts, and feelings are somehow unrelated to our own? What if, instead of seeing others as threats or obstacles, we could recognize a unity that connects us all? What if we could see our disagreements, not as battles to be won, but as opportunities to deepen our understanding, to uncover the hidden threads that bind us together? In this sense, the ancient map of consciousness offers us a key to unlocking more compassionate, empathic relationships, whether with our loved ones, colleagues, or even strangers. By recognizing the interconnectedness of all, we can learn to move beyond the surface-level conflicts and engage in a deeper, more meaningful dialogue with the world around us. This sense of interconnectedness also extends to our relationship with nature. Modern society, with its emphasis on individualism and materialism, often fosters a sense of detachment from a natural world. We see ourselves as separate from nature, as consumers of its resources, rather than as integral parts of the ecosystem. Yet the ancient map reveals that we are not merely inhabitants of the earth, but expressions of it. Our bodies, minds, and spirits are all intricately woven into the web of life. This realization calls us to live more mindfully, to recognize the sacredness of the natural world, and honor the interconnectedness of all living beings. But the implications of the ancient map of consciousness extend far beyond our interpersonal relationships or our relationship with nature. It also touches upon the way we approach our own lives, our own growth, and our own potential. For the map is not simply about understanding the world around us. It is about understanding the depths of our own consciousness. It calls us to embark on an inner journey, to peel back the layers of conditioning and illusion that obscure our true nature. In practical terms, this means that we must begin to examine our beliefs, thoughts, and habits and ask ourselves, are these truly mine? Or have they been handed down to me by society, by culture, by family, by the media? The ancient map of consciousness reminds us that we are not bound by the beliefs and patterns we have inherited. We are not limited by the identity we have constructed for ourselves over the years. We have the power, the freedom, and the responsibility to transcend the limitations of the false self and to awaken to the truth of who we are. This awakening does not happen overnight. It is a gradual process, one that requires deep introspection, self-awareness, and above all, courage. Courage to question, to challenge, and to dismantle the false structures that we have built around ourselves. Courage to face the shadows within, those parts of ourselves that we have repressed, denied, or ignored. But it is also a process of great liberation. For as we begin to shed the layers of illusion, we begin to uncover the true map of our consciousness. The map that was always there, waiting to be discovered. One of the key lessons of the ancient map is the importance of presence. In a world that is constantly rushing, constantly moving, constantly distracting us with its noise and demands, it is easy to forget that the key to unlocking the map of consciousness lies in the present moment. The map does not exist in the past, nor does it reside in the future. It is found only in the here and now. When we can fully embrace the present moment, when we can bring our full awareness to the task at hand, we begin to see the world in a new light. We begin to experience life not as a series of isolated events or random occurrences, but as a harmonious unfolding of interconnected moments, each one leading us toward a greater understanding of the self and the universe. This principle of presence can be applied in countless ways. In our work, for instance, we can bring a deeper awareness of the tasks we perform, seeing them not as mundane obligations, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. In our creative endeavors, we can release the pressure of perfectionism and allow the flow of inspiration to guide us. In our spiritual practices, we can cultivate a deeper connection with the divine, not through rituals or dogma, but through direct experience, through a deep immersion in the present moment. Furthermore, the ancient map of consciousness teaches us to embrace the paradox of duality. In our everyday lives, we are often confronted with conflicting forces: fear and love, order and chaos, light and dark. The modern mind tends to categorize and label these experiences, seeking to resolve contradictions and impose a sense of control. Yet, as we've seen, the ancient map does not ask us to eliminate or transcend duality. Instead, it invites us to embrace it fully, to recognize the unity that underlies all opposing forces. This means that we must learn to hold space for contradiction, to allow the tension between opposites to exist without the need for resolution. In this way, we can navigate life with greater ease, seeing the ebb and flow of existence as part of the natural order rather than something to be feared or avoided. Finally, the ancient map invites us to trust the process. As we embark on our individual journeys of awakening, we will inevitably encounter challenges, obstacles, and setbacks. The map is not a road to be followed blindly, but a guide that helps us navigate the terrain of our own consciousness. There will be moments of doubt, moments when we question whether we are on the right path, moments when the way forward seems unclear. But the ancient teachings remind us that the journey itself is as important as the destination. It is through the process of exploration, of trial and error, of learning and unlearning, that we come to understand the deeper truths of the map. Trusting the process means surrendering to the unknown, knowing that the path will reveal itself as we move forward with openness and curiosity. As we arrive at the final leg of this journey, we are faced with a vast expanse of possibility that the ancient map of consciousness offers. It is as though we have been climbing a mountain, moving through dense fog and obscure paths, only to reach the summit and behold the endless landscape before us. This map, though long obscured, is not a relic of the past, but a living blueprint, a tool that can guide us toward a future of profound transformation. The map of consciousness is not an abstract concept. It is a call to action, an invitation to awaken from the sleep of conditioned thought and reconnect with the true depths of who we are. The ancient map is both a guide and a mirror. As we gaze upon it, we are invited to reflect on our own lives, the ways in which we have been trapped in the illusions of separation, the ways in which we have lived out stories of fragmentation and conflict. And yet, as we look deeper into this map, we begin to see not just our personal histories, but also the greater collective story that we are all part of. The divisions that seem so real, between ourselves and others, between the material and the spiritual, between the individual and the universe, are revealed for what they truly are: illusions that arise from the limitations of our perception. The ancient map does not call us to transcend the world, but to re-envision it, to see the unity that underlies all things, and to embrace the wholeness that is our birthright. In this final moment of reflection, we are presented with a choice: to continue living according to the limited perceptions we have inherited, or step boldly into the unknown, to embrace the mystery of existence with open arms and an open heart. The ancient map of consciousness asks us not to be passive observers, but active participants in the unfolding of reality. It invites us to recognize that the world we see around us is not fixed, but fluid, and that by changing the way we perceive it, we can begin to shift its very structure. This is the power of consciousness, the ability to shape the world to the lens of our awareness, to bring light to the dark corners of the psyche, and, in doing so, to bring light to the world. This map is a call to remember. It is a reminder that we are not separate from the cosmos, not isolated in our individual lives, but woven into the fabric of the universe itself. We are expressions of the divine, manifestations of a cosmic consciousness that transcends time, space, and form. The ancient map points us toward this deeper truth, urging us to reconnect with the source of our being, to move beyond the ego and the illusion of separateness, and to recognize that we are all part of one great, unfolding story. The call of this map is not just for personal enlightenment. It is a call to collective awakening. As we each begin to reawaken to the deeper layers of our own consciousness, we begin to collectively shift the paradigm of our world. The more individuals who embark on this journey of self-realization, the more the entire fabric of society is transformed. This is not a transformation that can be imposed from the outside, nor is it a matter of external achievement. It is a shift in awareness, a shift in perception, a shift in the very way we relate to ourselves, to each other, and to the world. This call is not for the faint of heart. To follow the ancient map requires courage. It requires the willingness to face the unknown, to confront the shadows within ourselves, and to step into a world that may seem unfamiliar at first. But it is in this uncertainty, this willingness to walk into the mystery of life, that true freedom is found. For in surrendering the need for control, we come to realize that we are not separate from the flow of the universe. We are part of it, and it is through our connection with the greater whole that we find our deepest power, our deepest truth. What does this transformation look like in practical terms? It means that we begin to live with greater awareness, greater presence, and greater compassion. It means that we let go of the need to control or manipulate our circumstances, and instead learn to flow with the currents of life. It means that we embrace both the light and the dark, recognizing that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and every joy is a reflection of the divine. It means that we recognize the interconnectedness of all things, and in doing so, treat ourselves, each other, and the world with the reverence and respect that all life deserves. The ancient map of consciousness is a living guide, constantly evolving as we evolve. It is not a static chart, but a dynamic force that responds to the shifts in our collective awareness. As we awaken to its deeper truths, we begin to realize that the map was never truly erased. It was only hidden, waiting for us to discover it once again. And now, as we stand at the threshold of this rediscovery, we are called not just to remember the map, but to live by it, to allow it to guide us into a new era of consciousness, one in which the boundaries between self and other, between human and divine, between the material and the spiritual, begin to dissolve into a radiant unity. This is a call to the ancient map, to awaken to the truth of who we are, to reconnect with the sacred geometry that underlies all existence, and to recognize that we are not mere individuals struggling to the world, but divine expressions of the cosmos, each of us a unique note in the great symphony of life. The journey is not an easy one, but it is a journey of a lifetime, the journey of rediscovering the map that was always there, waiting to be seen. And so, as we reach the end of this exploration, I leave you with this question. Are you ready to embrace the ancient map of consciousness? To see the world not as it has been presented to you, but as it truly is, interconnected, alive, and full of infinite potential? The map is here, waiting for you. All it takes is a willingness to look within, to open your heart, and to trust the process of transformation. The journey is yours to take, and the map will guide you every step of the way. Thank you for taking this journey with me.